Hello, welcome to More Than Meets the DIY, a virtual education series presented by the Pacific Northwest chapter of the Recording Academy and Sonic Guild Seattle. My name is Jessica Toon. I'm the Senior Executive Director of the Recording Academy's Pacific Northwest chapter. We've been hosting a new session in this series on the first Tuesday of each month, which will be continuing through November. Each features a specific topic sourced by feedback from our music community. In this 8th installment of the series, if you want to check out the rest of the series, they are all posted on the Recording Academy's membership YouTube page, which you can find with the handle @GRAMMYPro. So today is a second edition of a two-part marketing series. In the first session, Obley, Reed, and Riker talked about strategic brand building and audience development strategies as they set the foundation for the release of Obley's line leaders. And today we're going to dive deeper into marketing channels and strategies, tactics, and tools. So to kick us off, I'd love to introduce you to Kay Van Petten. Kay is Sonic Guild's Director of Marketing, and she's going to moderate the conversation with our guests. Hey, Kay.
Hey, Toon, how's it going?
Good. Welcome. Thank you for doing this again.
Of course, happy to.
I can't believe that we're on the 8th installment of this. I'm going to be sad when we take December, January off, but just so everyone knows, we're hoping to be back in early 2026, hopefully starting in March. So look forward to that with some cool new concepts and maybe a different format. So really looking forward to that. But before we get started with today, we received so much great feedback from last month's conversation with Riker and Obley. I'm curious to hear from you. What was your biggest takeaway from that conversation?
Yeah, it's really stuck with me. I've thought about it so many times as I've been talking to artists about how important it is to just slow down and build with intention. So many artists, I think, are really eager to release or eager to get themselves out there, but their process of slowing down and having Obley wait, what was it, 9 months before doing anything was so inspiring and gratifying, like to hear that you can slow down and it does pay dividends.
It was really cool to me too to hear them talk about from the beginning. Just you said intention, and that is a word that they use a lot. And it was really cool. We've seen Obley's brand book, and he's like very goal oriented, and it's really cool. I think they do a really good job at approaching his career really strategically and really thoughtfully and with a business approach, but with pure authenticity, right? So like there's goal setting, there's sort of review of what strategies and what approaches are working and not working, and figuring out like, okay, well, if this doesn't have ROI, why would we prioritize it or focus on it? We can actually just let this go and invest the time in what's working. And I think that that's probably a good lead into today's conversation too, as we talk about deeper about strategies and tactics.
Absolutely. And how they balance it with soul too, right? Not just making the right business decision, right? But as an artist, having the heart and soul of that. And there are 3 amazing people here to talk to us about that today.
Awesome. Well, I'll hop off and I'll let you introduce the guests. I'll be back for the audience Q&A. So if you're tuning in today, feel free to submit a question just using the Q&A feature at any time during today's conversation. And I'll come back and we'll answer as many of them as we can at the end. So thanks again, Kay. I'll see you later.
All right, so today I'm joined by 3 incredible people who bring really distinct but complementary perspectives to this conversation, this part 2 of our marketing series. So come on screen and join me, y'all. You can unmute now. And I'm going to introduce you to first Nikki Barron, who is the founder of Casita Azul, a creative agency that supports artists and mission-driven campaigns. And Abby Govoli, who's social media manager at Sub Pop Records and a DJ at KEXP, and has over a decade of experience in both radio and digital storytelling. And finally, Daniel Lyon, who is the frontman of Spirit Award and newer band Packaging, and also books at the Rabbit Box. Hey, y'all, how's it going?
Doing good.
Doing great.
So tonight we're going to move through this session in 3 parts. Of the release journey, right? The preparation, the release, and the follow through, and exploring all of those different phases and what it takes to market work with strategy and soul, balancing both of those things. So first, I want to start off, Nikki, by asking you, you've worked with artists at all different stages. What's the first thing that you suggest when they're preparing to release something?
Similar to what, what you said in the intro, just to stop, take a beat, and to plan. I think for a lot of folks, they don't really think about that until they're like halfway through the record or more. When it's like when you're that same time that you're like writing the songs and you're getting the music ready, it needs to also be when you're planning for the actual release. And like you had mentioned before, it can be 9 months, a year, 2 years for the cycle to actually go all the way through. So that's the number one thing I give people the advice of is take a beat, plan, and like don't just like daydream plan, like learn how to use, the computer as if you're an admin, like get those admin skills up, get spreadsheets, make plans, and communicate those plans to everybody who's involved. That's my number one advice. And the biggest, I think, mistake people make early on.
And Abby, you've seen so many releases across Sub Pop's roster and with independent local artists too. What are some of the most successful artists? What did they do to prepare? Can you give us any concrete examples?
Yeah, to prepare, when you're even thinking of the record, film it if possible, especially in the social media landscape. People love to see process. People love to connect with musicians and see how they make their work. And that helps build your community. So when you're just demoing, save those demos, save those pictures in your bedroom, like hammering something out. Capture those little moments because you'll want to use them later, because most marketing is now social marketing, at least during this timeline.
And I want to point out, you said use them later, right? You can be capturing this, right? Taking videos, recording, and not have to do anything with it, but you'll be so thankful later that you do have those to then approach actually releasing as a different part of that, right? I think so many artists think you have to be making content in real time and then posting it right away, but it's good to have a lag between that, right?
Exactly. And it will be less stressful. So like I always suggest tools, even if you're like, I'm not going to use this, you might. I always recommend like folks to kind of sketch out maybe a calendar when you do get that release timeline, where you would post like and share little bits of your release timeline. Like there's this amazing software they use like called Later. You can just go later.com and most of it's free. If you have multiple profiles, then it does cost something, but they have social calendar apps and then ways where you can track where content goes over time. And also get a Dropbox or a Google Drive, and you can begin to sort things, by, oh, here's the guitar part that I've been working on. Oh, here's a funny moment in our recording session, capturing those moments as you go along.
I was gonna just add on to that is, kind of thinking in that capacity realm and making this a sustainable career that you're not gonna just burn out is another piece of advice I give is make it everybody's responsibility. So like everybody needs to be filming, everybody needs to be taking photos, everybody needs to be reminding each other. I mean, if I know tensions can get high, but like maybe you find a silly way that works for your band to like remind, and then also tell your friends, the girlfriends and the boyfriends and the partners that are coming to the shows, like ask them to take photos and videos. They don't have to be professional. It's actually better. Like most of your content is not. So like really make it everybody's responsibility and make it a community effort. I mean, you can lead it. You could be the one that puts the Dropbox together and, reminds people they got to drop their photos and videos in there. But like you can't do all of it. So really engage the people around you. And when you're organizing, figure out how you're going to organize it. Don't just put it in there. Like if you're going to do videos, inside the videos, do like behind the scenes, live videos. That way, when you go in a month or 6 months, you're not like, well, I don't even want to get started because it's just a giant pile. Like set
Yeah.
yourself up for success in the future. Like just be super organized as much as you can, as much as your brain will allow.
Yeah, it's always
Try.
important to help little notes. And then, I agree. Like if you have a friend, if you're like, I'm bad at this, and you have a friend who's really good at it, I'm always like, look at your community and be like, oh, hey, maybe there's a person who actually likes making this stuff. Here is a way to get engaged. And also, if it's a friend, they know you.
Yeah.
There's a bit more comfortability around that.
Yeah.
It's how I got into it.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Like,
started helping friends. Pretty sure that's a lot of us in the business side of music. Is it started with helping your friends and then grew into your
exactly.
passion. Yeah,
Music is a team sport for sure.
absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
I think
Daniel, something I want to ask you, sorry, I really want to know because so many artists know that this is true, right? We should be taking as much content as we can and we should be organizing and making folders, and it's good to get ahead of it. But like the actual heart and soul can get lost if you're just trying to check a box of recording a video, right? So like, how do you maintain that mindset of this isn't content creation, this is telling the story of this amazing record that you've made, right? How do you keep that mindset in independent releases?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it is a tricky thing because, when you have a million things that you're doing and you're trying to get all this stuff done, I don't know. It's hard to focus on that. I think one thing that I just think about is how, once you've made the music, even making the music, it's nice to even just like think of something visually, at least for me. And then I feel like it's the same thing with the music, like put that heart into it. Like, how do you make something just complement that music? Because it's so easy to, make something that doesn't look great or doesn't complement it. And I think it just can change your perspective of listening to that song, whether good or bad. So I would say just doing that and not settling on something that you don't feel really good about. Like I've had two music videos that I've had shot before and we just didn't use them because it would have been a worse look to put them out, in my opinion, than to, not put them out. So,
I
you know,
one thing I actually want to push back a little on the premise of your question. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know me well enough to know. I think that question comes from a place of maybe feeling like this is something people don't want, when in reality, that is just another thing your fans and the people want from you. Like, people want you to succeed. Like, I can't think of a time that I've been going through my like Instagram feeds or something, and I see a band I love's video, and I think, God, they've really lost the soul when they put that video out. No, I'm like stoked. And like you have to put yourself in the shoes of the people receiving it. They're excited. The more content and videos you give them, the happier they're going to be. Like, they're not like, it's, your fans, and I think looking at it as like, this is just one more creative outlet that I can find out, and like I can engage with my fans and I can give them another side to the music that is different, but we used to offer. Like, we used to offer, I'm looking at a Waller Records, and half of them have booklets inside like this of just lyrics and photos and stories. Like, we don't do that stuff anymore. That is now this other visual element that we're all doing online. But it's all those extra pieces. They used to be in fan clubs and they'd send you stuff in the mail. Like, it's just a different format, but people want it. So you should be excited. So I think everyone should just mindsets.
Such an important mindset switch. And whatever mindset you're in when you are creating content or whatever it might be, it gets everywhere. Like, that gets into your storytelling. So you really do have to control your mindset of understanding the story you're trying to tell and who you're telling it to. I think that's such an important point you made, and that people do want to hear it. People want to know that story. Does anyone else have anything to add to the preparation stage? Any other tips?
As silly as it sounds, just be yourself. I know sometimes people will be like, Abby, come on. And I'm like, no, like if you feel like what you're putting out there to represent you, if you feel a little like, that's cringe, then don't put it out there. But, if you're scrolling through TikTok or Instagram Reels, like people are putting their personality out there and people are putting their art and music out there because, people want that connection, just to emphasize the audience. Like, especially since COVID, people have drawn their eyeballs to these social media platforms because that's where the connection was. And I think that has sustained over time. And that's why social media has really gone kaboom, you know?
Yeah. I think along with preparation stuff that I think about, I tend to like making like a Pinterest board of just like some looks, stuff like that, or even just color scheme. I feel like it helps, just like with, like, okay, let's get some band photos that look like this and that tie into the record a little bit, maybe, or um, yeah, I think just thinking about like what's the story you want to convey, and because I think you can get deep into the record making process, and there's these little things that you want people to see, but that can be missed. So I think it's important just to like find those and highlight those. And yeah, I don't know, just I feel like through this too, just like be curious and contemplative and just like craft it like you're crafting a song. Like I know it's exhausting to musicians to think about doing stuff after spending all this time writing, recording, mixing, doing everything. But if you can try to like shift your lens, I think a little bit, and think of it as like a bonus creative thing, I think that helps.
It's the last thing we haven't mentioned. Now's the time to start thinking about who you're going to bring in on your team. So are you going to hire a videographer? Are you going to, and if you don't know yet, that's where those organization skills are going to come in. The Pinterest boards, like you can just have a note on your phone. And like, if you like a music video, like just put a little list together with music videos that you like. So you know, like later when you're ready, you can go back and look and you're not just like, oh no, I have a single coming out in 4 weeks and I don't have a video. So I'm just going to hire this first person, or I don't have photos. So I'm just going to hire this person. Like give your, like in that planning phase, the benefits is that you can really take your time making that list. You want a video person. Who are you going to have if your record's not done? Like who's going to mix? Who's going to master if you haven't yet? Who's going to do your, like, who are you going to submit your music to, like for publishing? Like all of those things. Like this is the time to like build those pros and cons list of all those people and have that list growing. So you're not up to that deadline and being forced to make decisions that you're not ready to make or you're not happy with, and ending up with music videos that you don't even put out, but you spend all the money on, Yeah. Don't
For
forget about
sure.
who you want on your team.
And I think along with that too, just I think it's helpful to have like somewhat an idea of like how much money you're going to spend for everything. Um, because spreading that out is so much easier too than like rushing and like, oh, we have to pay for 2 music videos, and oh, we just paid for the mastering and like all this other stuff if you're self-releasing or you have a small label budget.
All great points. I think collecting your inspiration is such good advice, regardless if it's Pinterest or music video, just a list of music videos. Something I have artists do is like do those saved Instagram folders of anytime they see somebody releasing something and they like the strategy, save it, especially across medium. So not in music. If there's a visual artist you love, or someone in a different medium who's telling a story in an interesting way, it's so great to get inspiration from that and to be able to come back to it, like, oh, why did I love the way that painter presented their painting for the first time, or anything like that. So
Yeah.
we come to the moment where it's time to release. Daniel, you've been there. Abby and Nikki, you've helped so many artists get to that moment, but that week can feel like chaos, and like every moment needs to be filled with this huge to-do list of all these things to do. What are the smartest things that an artist can do on social specifically, or just in general in the digital storytelling realm, to get ready for that moment? Abby, what tips do you have?
If you have any physical product, show it. If you don't show it, people don't know you have it. I'm always recommending our artists. I'm like, okay, vinyl. That's a big focus for Sub Pop. We have our loser edition, which just means our first pressing, but people like it. They think it's funny. And, we have artists like Deep Sea Diver who will do an amazing unboxing and, do it in their own personality, show you what it looks like, what's cool about it, what it means to them. why they picked the color, the liner notes. It's a really fun way to show off what you have in advance. And also take photos of you like and film tour rehearsals. If you have a tour, most of a release day is like, and we're going on tour. So that's already stressful enough. And maybe you have a release day show. Whatever events you have, compile them all in a document and like make little notes of, okay, how do I best want to represent this? And also, I think it's really helpful to have, 1 to 2 pieces of content to, let's say, promote said event, said release, show the lyrics. People love, especially on TikTok, like when people put the words of the lyrics to like a specific part that really resonates with themselves or with what they think will resonate with an audience, because people love to grab onto that, in short form content and may apply it towards, their own short form. I think it's good to, display everything you love about that record. And I know on release day, it can be like, what? I don't even know what I like about this anymore. I've recorded this 2 years ago. But I think it's always good to even write down, hey, what do I love most about this? What were my favorite moments? I want to show that. And, also, the algorithm is an evil thing and you have to feed it. It's like a gremlin after midnight. You have to feed it like at least 2 weeks in advance, 1 to 2 posts, and get in the feed so that people can see your stuff as well. Cool.
I think batching all of as much of that as you can so that the day, if we're talking like day of release, like I said earlier, like make it everybody's responsibility and try to batch as much as you can for like socials and emails and any ads, anything like that. Really engage your team. If you're doing a release show, really hype up try to get the folks at the venue excited, try to get fans excited. And then just like the algorithms can suck sometimes, and so like you might do all this posting today and I'm not going to see this until Friday, so like don't stress too much about it. Enjoy it. This is the midpoint. So
Yeah, I always like
just hit your midpoint, take a breather, enjoy that. But yeah, if it's the day of the show, focus on the show and focus on your fans. That's my thing. And batch all the things that Abby said.
Yeah, I would always say release day is actually technically like 2 weeks, at least in a social media perspective, at least 2 to 3 weeks before said day, and also a few weeks after. Because once it happens, you're like, I'm done. I did it.
Mm-hmm.
That is not true. There is still, you still want to tell people about it because, as Nikki said, not going to necessarily see it that day just because you make one post. Oh my God, it's like that tree metaphor. If the tree falls in the forest and no one's there, will they hear? You know what I mean? I'm sorry, cliches.
Yeah.
But, you got to remind people and don't think you're overdoing it because you're not. There's other people who will see it.
Yeah. And like leading up to that, think about this, like we kind of skipped but this is like months later after that first conversation we just had. So you've got your plan out there, you've decided on all the different marketing channels and techniques and all of that. So it's not like you're just going into release day with this blank space. Like you've built this foundation that this release is coming on top of. So this is where you should start to see sort of that. I mean, you should see it a little bit all the way along their way, but this is really that moment where you're going to see that biggest like return on all of the months of work and planning. A few things I like to tell people around releases that I don't see a lot of people doing, but in this music space, but I do it a lot with like my nonprofit clients and like some other small business clients. Is go through your followers on Instagram and like see if anybody significant is following you. And they're already a fan. Like send them a message or send them free tickets or ask them to listen to the record. You don't have to ask them for a post or anything. You could just be like, I was going through my friends and I noticed you're on here and I'm a fan of you. I love this. Like, here's my record. Check it out. That might help you kind of build a little bit of momentum going in. These are things, you'd want to go maybe the couple weeks before the actual day, think about, like making sure you've told all your friends that like a lot, like back in the like if you've read like Duff McKagan's memoir, he talks about how like he used to like go down to the phone booth and like call fans that had given him their phone numbers like in the early days. They would send people things in the mail. Like, so because in marketing they say you have to see something 7 times to like truly take action. So it feels like you're bothering people, but like when you're posting on social, I'm seeing maybe an eighth of it, depending on how engaged I am. If you're sending me emails, depending on the day, I might just delete it. So like the frequency should be increasing as you get closer. And I know it's anxiety forming. Like that's the feedback I get a lot when I'm telling people like this needs to be more. Like you need to be more. Like ramp that up because that is the release,
Yeah, and I will say, like, one of the most impactful things I've seen across posting is, you know, when you post things, it's not just a news flash, it's also a conversation with your audience. Like, have a call to action. And when I say call to action, I mean be like, hey, our vinyl is available on this day, pre-order here. Like point them to a direction, but also ask questions like, hey, like, what do you think of this lyric? I really like it because of this. Or I'm like really excited for this show. Like things that I've also seen are effective are like almost like AMAs, ask me anythings. I have people who do that like on tour via their stories or on their Instagram posts on TikTok, and they'll answer all of them. And then it creates more conversation with the community that you're building. Also, what I've frequently seen is musicians always want to talk about music. So talk about the music that you're listening to. Like, let's say you get the new Sprints record and you're like, this record, this is why I like it. Do you like this track? Tell me what you're listening to. Just that simple action will get you so many comments and so much more meaningful conversation. Because I don't know about you, but if someone comments anything music related, like this band, I'm like, oh, well, let me tell you what I think about it. Because it's fun. It's fun to have those conversations. So when you're thinking, like this post, what do I ask people, like what do you want to be asked, or what like what natural conversation piece could you add to this?
I love that. Daniel, I want to pull you into this. What does a release week look like for you?
Well, I'm currently about to be in a release week. Um, it means a lot of things. I think right now it means shifting some things around because certain things didn't happen. Like our vinyl got awesomely delayed. Um, I feel like going through a bunch of releases, there's always something that doesn't go as planned. So I think kind of preparing for that can be good. So just, I mean, for us this round, we've just been trying to like get as much things to share a little bit around the release week. So we're having to like, change a couple little things up and swap some things. But yeah, I think just, I mean, I'm in the midst of, just making our schedule out. Like we had a live video that was supposed to be done uh on the release day that we were going to pitch, but it got pushed back. And we're like, honestly, let's push it back 2 weeks after this, and then we'll extend this push for the record. And we can talk about the tour. It's a couple weeks after that. And um yeah, I mean,
The truth is, release day is just a day that someone's come up with. Like all of this
really,
is dispersed
truly,
throughout many months, right? And the release day, it's not like anyone, is like, this is the only day that I'm willing to celebrate and talk about this release. That's not true at all. And what Nikki and Abby said is so true, that you have to say something 1,000 different ways for anyone to really hear it. So it's all just a fabrication. And any of these dates you set, you can totally be loose with them, right? Like things
yeah,
always change. So as a segue, it really is about the follow through after that day too, right? Because that's just
yeah.
one of many milestones on this journey. So I want to open up the floor now to follow through. What does a strong post-release strategy look like?
Yeah. I mean, I think the follow through with all your singles and things, what I've learned is like early on, I feel like I'd hit people up to ask something about something and I wouldn't hear anything and just be like, ah, shoot, well, guess that's it. But I think just following up with people, like send someone an email, send them a few days later, whatever, checking in, see if you got this. Yeah, I think, and I think just following through that record stuff, just plan out stuff after. It's like, just all the stuff we talked about, but just keep finding little things you can do, having shows like I personally think for smaller bands or I mean like the project I'm just starting, we're doing a tour like a month after the record release, which I think gives some people a little time to digest the record. And then, we're having some videos and things in between that. And then we'll have the tour to be able to be talking about and filming stuff on tour. So we'll have stuff after that. But yeah, that's at
I have
least
a follow.
personally.
I have a follow-up question for you, Daniel. Would you say that because you're also, you do booking for a venue, right? Do you think those
Yes.
skills have like made you better with your band? Like all the like administrative type stuff that you've had to like do now, having to book bands and being on the other side of it?
I think so. I mean, I also like I know my way around a little bit with video stuff and some graphic design stuff, and that's also helped a lot. And I would say if you can learn some basics in doing that, like it's so helpful to not have to pay somebody to do every little thing for you and be waiting also on that kind of stuff. But it just depends on your skill level too. But yeah, and I think the booking stuff has helped too a lot, and just like negotiating stuff and making sure that you just like know what the deal is. You know, uh, I've heard from a lot of bands or seen stuff on Reddit where people are like, man, we didn't get paid anything at this gig, and it's like you didn't bring anybody, and you also didn't figure out what the deal was. But yeah, I think I don't know, just that kind of thing. I've been notoriously terrible at delegating sometimes. And Spirit Award, it's been me kind of like doing everything. So that's package has been different where I have another partner. And so it's been challenging and also relieving to be like, okay, let's start delegating things. Like you're really good at this, like you handle this, or like we've had stuff where it's like you kind of head up this music video thing or whatever. I'll head this one up. Um, and it just, I don't know, it just helps ease the burden a little bit. And like, so I think it's important just like picking people in your band who are like, hey, you're really good at this, do this. Or, hey, could you figure out like how to do this thing? Like, I don't know. I think there's plenty of people out there, and like this is a great resource to just like get familiar with doing kind of different roles and jobs and bands.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
I'm a questions girl. It's really hard for me to just sit here and not ask questions. Okay, I'll answer your question now though. So when it comes to, well, we've released kind of what's next, and it's great because Abby said something so similar, and I had this written in my notes. It's that momentum thrives on conversation, not just on content. And so trying to shift the mindset that way, thinking about like, now you got to play live shows. I love this idea that Daniel had where he like waited a month to go on tour. I think that's fantastic. We usually see people leave the day the record comes out. That's really difficult if you need to build your audience a little further down the road, especially if it's your first record or you don't really have like a way to build your audience there. Maybe a few times you played live before your record was out. So I think that's awesome. I think about depending on how long you want to wait, like you could do a collaboration or like a remix with somebody, and then there's an opportunity to re-release a song from that record. You can continue to do updates if you are like already like, oh no, I'm already out of the studio, I can't do behind the scenes. You can make that stuff up. Like no one's gonna know. Like if you don't actually film yourself filming, like writing the song, you can still film yourself writing a song, maybe not that exact song, or you can walk through that process of writing that song, like in the past tense, or you could just pretend, you wrote the song. I'm not asking you to like pretend to write a song you didn't write, but like you wrote it. And if you didn't make the content, that's okay. You can go back and do that. You could go play an open mic somewhere you've never played and have somebody film it and say, this is coming out on my new record, but your record, it's like already out, but you're like, this is from before. Like that's okay too. So you can go backfill that stuff, like get creative, keep engaging, answer people's questions. If you're going through your feed and you see your fans and the people you follow are doing cool stuff, reshare it, comment on it. It's community. People are going to like reshare your stuff. They're like, oh, that's the kind of relationship we have. Cool. I'll share your events. You share mine, that kind of thing. Make your own playlist on all the different playlisting platforms with your music and music that inspired that record. And there's something you could share out. It could also like be a source for like other people who are discovering those public playlists that aren't from your channels, that just come across them because you've given them a really great name or has a really fun theme that draws folks in. That would be a good, make sure you have your lyrics like in all of those platforms. So whichever distributor you use, I think all of them now have some sort of way for you to get your lyrics so that they will auto scroll along with the song when people are listening. People really love that. It's like one of the most engaging features if you look at the data on these platforms. Like, and then you can do the little video clips on most of these platforms too, so that you have motion. So if someone's not looking at the lyrics, they're actually seeing like a little video loop that's going along with your song. And you have full control of that. Like you just go in these backends and set those up. It just adds more like levels and areas for conversation. Like, and you can launch out new merch things out of there. Like I have a client that every show we put out new stickers and they're like the simplest thing. I just make them at home and they're like little squares with like basically like physical memes that you can like hand out like and every show, and like people are collecting them now. Like it's getting to the point where people come and they're like, I have that one, I have that one, I have that one. And some of them you can only get at that one show. I may never make it again. So like just think like, how am I gonna like continue to have this conversation? What gets people talking to me, and how am I taking the step? Because it has to go, conversations are two ways. Can't just be like, come to my channel and talk to me. Go to their channels and go to their places and talk to them, and interact with them. I'm not saying spend your whole day there, but kind of all of this, are just random ideas, but I'm thinking about when I'm ideating this, and that's what I'm trying to help you guys understand. So you have like the fundamental skill of like, when you're ideating, just like come up with ideas, like what would be cool, weird, funny, what do I like ask my friends, like, and just make a list and try some stuff. No one's gonna just, abandon you. It's really scary and we all carry that fear, but it's so fleeting. It can be so fleeting. So like enjoy it and have fun and try new things and make that focus. Well, now that we've had the record, how do I keep people talking about it? And how do I keep talking to people and it's go in both directions, not just people talking to me about it.
And I also think it's super helpful to be like, okay, if you have an idea of like, this artist has a similar trajectory that I want, like, what are they doing? And kind of examining like their social media, let's say. Like, for instance, like I have an artist who is not as comfortable with social media, Jen Wasner of Flock of Dimes. She is very about the lyrics, about the writing. She has a Substack that she can direct people to, but she's also been making short form content where she does kind of direct to camera, like, hey, this is how I wrote this song, and this is what it means to me. Here's these little bits, like in whatever way you tell a story to people. But, and we also have this other artist, Hannah Jadagu. She's up and coming, and her TikTok is hilarious because she uses her track to kind of soundtrack, similar emotions or, those things that we're all thinking, but we're thinking the same thing, like these little moments that you can find on TikTok that we can all kind of laugh and, resonate together with. She's very good at that. So if you are looking for tips on TikTok and are like, who do I look to? Hannah Jadagu is a very good one for that. And she's very good at engaging her audience who have feedback about the text that she's putting over these little snippets, over these moments that pair well with her songs. And yeah, I think it's a good way to, show your personality in the way that you want to. If you're a little shy, that's okay. You can do voiceover on some of these things. Or if you're just like, this is silly, I'm just gonna make fun of it. There's a band for you called Piss Jeans that I love those guys so much. I gave them the prompt of, hey, could you make like an unboxing of the vinyl just to show the physical product? And they're like, sure, Abby. And then they made a whole trilogy of funny posts where there was odd situations like an SNL skit set up where they almost would unbox it, but it would never happen. Something crazy would happen to disrupt the unboxing. So you're like, the anticipation was there. You're like, well, when am I going to see it? Or I would go looking for it. Like, it's fun. There's so many different ways, and it's not just, TikTok dances or what's trending. But hey, if there's something that's trending that you resonate with it, grab it. Like on Instagram, you can do a remix. This is like a little tool that looks kind of like a little arrow thing. I'm so sorry. That's like the best way I can explain it. But, you can use that clip and pair it with your sound. And when I say sound, I mean add your music to things. Because when you tag your sounds in Instagram Reels or carousel posts or TikTok, people are like, oh, what's that track? Like, that's how I find some music sometimes, where I'm like, what is that? I need to find it. People love to search. People love a treasure hunt. So there's multiple ways to interact with your audience and keep that momentum up and keep them interested. And so it's not boring for you. Because I think the biggest thing that I see is people after release day, they're like, well, I'm done. And like, I see things taper off because they're like, I used everything. And, I think it's good, while I've been really hitting home, batch your content. Also think after the fact, 3 months down after the line, like, what story do you still want to tell? And I know it can feel so far away, but also you're gonna find new things along that journey of your release day, your tour, and whatever events or things that may come along.
And just because you posted something doesn't mean you couldn't post it again with a new context. I think there's this like culture that once I posted something, it's over now, like I can't post it again, where that's completely not true. You could post the exact same thing again. You could switch it up and edit it into a new context. The truth is your next post is probably already in your camera roll waiting to be made. And you never know which angle is going to hit. And it always is the most unexpected spin you'd put on something. That's the one that gains traction. In so many successes I've seen, it's always like, how was that the one that everyone wanted to hear about? So don't be afraid if it's, if it's something that feels like, oh gosh, this is really a risk. Often that might be what takes off the most. Or maybe it's that like this specific DJ got it because they saw this certain angle you got. And so I also want to ask you, Abby, to just give us your like rapid fire best practices, because you come from a radio background, on, that within the follow through, getting plays from DJs. What do you do? How do you send your music to a station?
Yeah, for sure. So, every station can be different. I really recommend college radio for any up and coming artists because college kids are the most engaged DJs you'll ever meet. And it's how I got my start in Minneapolis. I was at a radio station called Radio K. I didn't know it had 50,000 listeners, but it does. And a lot of these college stations have significant following. And, these kids are passionate, and also they might work in music down the line, but they're also your fans. So hit up the college radio websites. Radio K is a very good one. I mean, totally biased, but hit up the big cities like Chicago, anywhere along a tour route. Like, see what the college stations are, because, on Radio K, I did in-studio sessions with bands. Like, they might offer that, or they might have interviews. And that leads to also more content you can get. and use later. It's great to contact them that way, but also back in my day, you sent physical media. You still can do that. It helps for to see something physically with your eyes, but also speaking of KEXP, my email is the scariest thing sometimes, but what helps me the most to organize things is an email. Give me a downloadable link. Don't give me a Spotify link. I can't play Spotify on air. It doesn't, the sound quality, it's a thing I'm very picky about. But give me a downloadable thing so I have something tangible so I can throw it to another DJ who I also think will like said band. Give me a little snippet of your bio. Do you have shows coming up? When can I play your single? Sometimes bands will send me singles way in advance, like a month. And I will be like, oh, but I want to play it now. And they're like, I'm like, can I premiere it? Don't do it a month in advance. Just hit me up a little bit faster because I can speak towards KEXP. There's like 40, 50 of us. And, we're all balancing other full-time jobs on top of things, but we're planning, the week of. So it's always nice to be aware of our attention spans with our emails. But yes, downloadable link, a little bit of a bio, link me to, your press kit if I need it. But most likely I will follow up and ask you for more information if I do plan to play it, and I will reply and let you know. Also, all of the KEXP DJ emails, they're on the website. Click the bios. It's also helpful sometimes. I like this, it's a little personal touch, but sometimes people will read through my bio and be like, oh, hey, like, I love Prince too. I'm from Minneapolis. And then, I don't know, it helps engage me a little bit. And if you listen to these people's shows, you kind of know their tastes. That will also help you in the long run. And follow up, don't be afraid. You're not bugging me. My email is scary. I need as many follow-ups as I can because I'm just listening to like thousands and thousands of songs and seeing what catches me. But also, I will always, hoot and holler for the college radio kids. That's a great place to start and build your fan base in terms of radio.
And they're good at marketing the stuff they're playing. Like, so like if they're excited, they're going to like share about it on their social channels, and the DJs are going to share it on their specific channels. So there's like, that's a community who is also right there in the trenches with you, trying to grow audiences, trying to, keep college radio and independent radio afloat. Just like we're all trying to keep independent musicians afloat. Like we're on the same team. Like, let's do it. Like, we'll help you out and you can help them out. Like shouting out their shows when they're playing your music. Like it's that conversation again. It's a cycle. It goes round and round and never ends, unfortunately. We'll do this forever. Yeah.
Yeah. I think one thing that I've seen too with radio stuff that's helped in the past, and I mean, some of this was a release I did like 15 years ago with a band I was in called Pomegranates, but we had somebody doing our radio, but then once we were getting ads and stuff, we followed up with like sending a postcard to these individual like stations and DJs and like writing a personal note. And I think that completely like we ended up number 5 on the college Billboard charts, which made no sense for us because we were, I don't know, a little indie band that nobody knew about. And it definitely helped in certain places.
I knew you, Daniel. I knew you too.
I played you in my college radio.
Nice. That's awesome.
Pomegranates.
I'm back.
Yeah.
And Daniel, I just wanted to say what you're talking about is really important to remember, that there's someone on the other side of everything that you're doing. So when you are communicating radio with an audience, like that is the number one thing to remember. Like people exist in all of these places, and you want to treat people like they're people, right? So I love like Abby's, part about the personal touch, like in a way that you would conduct yourself in any other room. Or if you're in the room with somebody, you're not just going to be like, hey, I need this thing from you. It's like you engage them, right? So I think
for
that's
sure.
a point.
Yeah.
So thank you. This has been such a cool conversation. I just have a couple of questions from the audience that I wanted to make sure that we address before we have to wrap. This has been so useful because so many bands aren't in a position yet to hire an agency or even a freelancer to help them market. But if they are, what is the best place for them to find a freelancer, like, or resources?
It depends on what you're looking for in your goals. I mean, if you have like zero budget, you can always go to services like Fiverr. If you're more like, I want to use local creatives, go to mixers. You know, so many of these like associations exist and lists. Like, you know, for me, if I'm looking for another person I want to like engage on a campaign for somebody, first thing I do is like go to my women in music group. Go, you know, I go to those communities first. But yeah, if it's like budget, you could find somebody in Fiverr. And I know some people are like, oh, it's unethical, but you know, when you're hiring an amazing artist from Indonesia to do your album art and you're paying them, you know, $200 and you're like, wow, that's like an entire month's income, you know, and if you have 500 budgeted, you can give that to that person and it's, you know, and it's fantastic. And I have used really amazing artists through there. So I really like that as a resource. Whenever possible, I try to hire locally and from my own community, but that's where I look generally is first my community. And then if I'm really budget constrained, I might go to Fiverr, and referrals are great. Asking your friends, ask people who, if you like someone's album art, shoot them a DM and say like, who made your album art? I love this. If
Yeah,
they haven't given them the credit yet, proper credit.
I'd say I use quite a bit. I've been using Submit Hub just to send a playlisting stuff. It's helpfully, I mean, it does like cost a little bit of money for credits and things, but it can be helpful just for a little boost of getting some stuff out there, and I think helping algorithms and stuff like that. You know, I had a friend recently who like didn't use it at all, and he was actually in Pomegranates with me too, and he's like, I don't know what's going on. We're like doing all this stuff and not getting anything, and he started using some Submit Hub stuff, and I think it started like triggering more of that from the playlist that they were getting on. So I don't know, that's usually like my first resource. I just tell people if they're not paying for like a, you know, full PR campaign or something like that, like do as much kind of stuff like that as you can do.
I think you all talked about this a little bit too. It's like there are some things that you or someone in your band might naturally be good at. So like if it's not one person in the band's responsibility to think about marketing, but maybe it's like in a company where you would sort of do a skills assessment and be like, hey, you're really good at this. This is your responsibility and this is my responsibility and this is, you know, Abby's responsibility. And then you're each just like have a small piece of it that ultimately comes together. And then where you have a skills gap, maybe that's where you do an outsource, and that's going to cost you a lot less than outsourcing an entire campaign. But, you know, if you can manage content capture and you can sort of manage fan engagement on your own, but you don't have anyone who's great at copywriting, or you don't have someone who, you know, if you guys are doing like digital ads or something like that, like, yeah, sure, that might be a place to hire a specialist. But again, you're going to spend a lot less than like a full stack marketer, which is just another like, break it down.
One add-on of people that I've done a lot for the artists that I've worked with is templating things for folks. So I have a graphic designer, that was what I went to school for in trade. I do most of my work in that space, but I make people templates. So whether it's, you know, whatever software you want to use, Canva, Adobe Express, whatever, like I can also just set up templates of people. You can hire someone to set up your templates for you. That way, like if you're like, these are the kinds of posts that I need to make, or this is the type of emails I need to send, you can just pay like an upfront fee for them to set that up. So then you can manage, and it's a little bit more upfront, but you're going to have that resource forever, you know, indefinitely. And you can also buy templates on like Etsy, depending on the platforms you're using. There's also free ones with like Adobe that I really like. I think Canva, you can kind of tell it's a Canva one, but personal opinion that like the Adobe ones, I really like those. I like sometimes like I will see one on Adobe and I'm like, oh, I saw somebody use that one. I didn't know it was a template. That's great. So like thinking about too, like templating, you know, and then batching, doing things, you know, all at once. These tools are great for that. If you need it in 5 different sizes, it'll like do that work for you. So
And one more
that a big,
tool I would add to that is CapCut is like my
yeah,
best friend.
the
I
video.
love that it sizes everything.
You say it
Yeah.
again, Abby.
Oh, CapCut. And it's free. You can get a pro version if you want more effects and things. But it sizes things and it's so intuitive. Like TikTok editing in the app is not always the most intuitive thing because they're constantly updating Instagram and TikTok. Whereas CapCut, it's just more intuitive where things are. And they have little helpful tutorials too that only take like less than 30 seconds if you want a specific thing. And it like stores all of your stuff, which is also great. So if you need to go back and recycle, you can, and it's free.
And it has really good templates too.
It has very good templates. It makes my IG stories look chef's kiss.
It's a really good platform. Yeah.
I love it. Something else that really stood out about that you all sort of hit on in a different way is thinking about content capture in really authentic ways. So even if you like, Nikki, you talked about this at the very beginning, which, as a former like corporate marketer, I would think of as customer empathy, right? Like putting yourself in the shoes of the audience and really, or your fans, and like really understanding who they are and what they'll be responsive to. And I think like something that we all know, but feels hard when you're on the artistic side of it is, Abby, you said this, is like, people want to see it. And then Nikki, you said this too, like people are rooting for you, and like you might be sick of yourself making videos, but like people are probably not sick of it, and people love behind the scenes. And unpolished is great, right? Like we want to see, like think about what you respond to, when you're watching someone else's content. It's like real feels important. I think Deep Sea Diver does this really well. Like Jess and Peter and Elliot all have like they're so fun, and like they have totally different personalities, but I think they're really good at like capturing tour, like in the like funny moments in the van and stuff from sound check, or a cool little town they were in on a day off, little adventures they were having, and I think like that's the stuff where you really feel like I think fans feel like they're having a personal connection with you, right? And they're in the conversation that you're having, and it isn't one way. And I think, you all sort of call that out in a different way. And I want to put a fine point on it because I feel like that resonates with a lot of people who are rooting for you and are your fans. And so I would personally just say, look to them as an example. I think they're really good at that.
Build your lore. Like, you know what I mean? Like think about all the stuff about your favorite bands. Like how much we all know about Fleetwood Mac and they're really, you know what I'm saying? Like that's like build your lore, and that lore will be built around you by sharing more information about you. We're not all gonna have a Wikipedia page. Like be your own lore builder. Like, let people understand that context. And you don't need to go as deep as Fleetwood Mac and give all the details, but you can give us something about you. So we have something to hook onto and really connect with even more deeply. Like think about how deeply people connect with your lyrics. Like that's the starting point. Like that you're starting there. You're starting at this kind of intimate relationship. Like just keep building it.
Yeah, and just to also add to Jessica, like Deep Sea Diver also like they're so good. Any weird suggestion, like they all come up with their own stuff, but any suggestion I've thrown at them, they have tried. So feel free to try, because even if it fails, as we say, we're rooting for you. Also, it's fun to fail. Like it also helps, I think, build your confidence. Like I was a theater major, which was, getting over failure and being okay with it. And, other sub pop bands that I would say to also look to, like I know I mentioned Deep Sea Diver, Hannah Jadagu. Sprints is this band from Ireland that I'm currently working with, and they're very good at making things like on tour. Like let's say you also, down the line have a press day. They explain the process of what that might look like in Europe or at different places. And they give that real experience. I highly recommend them. Sprints Music on TikTok and Instagram. Those three, they're crushing it. And also Flock of Dimes has a great way of doing this kind of documentary, kind of almost storytelling that kind of it just feels like you're having coffee with a friend and you're like, oh, that's really cool how you did that. And overall, you're connecting and you're inspiring others to do it because at the end of the day, it's scary to put yourself out there, but you're doing it. And we all want to be able to do that. So,
Very
When I
well.
say when I'm saying watch, I'm also saying like sign up for their email list. Like don't just follow them on one Instagram. Like look at like every way you can like keep an eye. Like see what they're doing in email, see what they're doing on all the different channels that you have, even if you just set up like burner channels to like monitor things. Like make sure you're looking at the full spectrum of what they're offering, like what's in their merch store, what's in the, all these bands that you admire and that you think maybe one day you're like, I could open for that band. My band would fit there. Like take notes,
oh, and
see what they're
also,
doing.
yeah, also to add to that, like with all these platforms, have a singular smart link that shows all of those things, like, your
Yeah.
events, tour, um, link in bio, like is an easy one. Like through that website I mentioned earlier, later, they'll give you a free link in bio where you can connect your TikTok, you can connect your Instagram and multiple other platforms so that you can kind of keep track of that. And also, there's another good one called Komi, KOMI.io. And it's kind of like a little one sheet, is kind of what it looks like. Goes to your music right away, goes to your tour, but shows like little visual clips of it. So, you can catch people's eyes a little bit faster rather than being like, oh, is this something I have to read? Um, you know, I
That's a
think those,
great tangible tip, right? Because like there's nothing worse than trying to find something that you want to engage with and having to click through 9,000 links to find it. Like
yeah,
that's
You can also just build a page on your website. Like people don't like that's what I do for my like folks because none of them use any like scheduling platform. Not my choice. But on their websites, I just have a hidden page that's just built for mobile. That's like just giant buttons that say like website, tour, like merch, Venmo, like whatever. It's literally just buttons. If you look at like Chris King and the Gutter Balls, go to their Instagram. It's just a page on his website, like that I just put buttons on, and it works. And he already paid for the website on Squarespace, so also not one I like, but whatever. People have their thing. I got opinions, guys.
well, and we love that about you, Nikki. Kay has a final question that she always likes to wrap with. So Kay, go for it.
It's true. I feel like there were already so many good one-liners like build your lore and all these great things. But I do want to ask you each to just leave us with one takeaway. Like, what is the one thing you want everyone watching this to walk away and remember? Nikki, want to start us off?
Sure. That momentum is cyclical and not linear. So I want to see 90-day post-release from everybody watching. I want to see your content 90 days out. You're still going strong after you released the peak. So yes, momentum is cyclical, and take all these techniques that everybody was talking about to figure out a way to make it sustainable so you don't burn out because it is cyclical. There is no end. These are just points along a line. So build your endurance for that, and just always remind yourself momentum is cyclical. It's not linear. We got this.
I love it. Daniel?
Yeah, I think I was gonna say something similar, just with momentum, just that, yeah, you have to just create your own momentum and not wait around for somebody else to like, you know, pull you up, just like keep creating your own thing. Because I think so many times in the past I've been like just waiting around, or bands are like, yeah, if we just get a label or whatever, and it's like, you just got to make your own thing. And even labels aren't going to sign you unless you're already doing your own thing. I mean, even um I even talked to like a publication this week who was like, hey, we're posting the interview and stuff. I won't say who they were, but they're like, we really want to post like this thing to Instagram, but you don't have enough followers. And they're like, we're not partnering with people who have enough followers. So that was even just like, okay, you just have to make your own thing, just, you know, push your own thing. So yeah, I know it gets exhausting, but I think that, you know, figure out the ways and be creative and, you know, see what other people are doing, but also kind of try to forge your own path and make your own look and all that stuff. Yeah.
Amazing. Abby, take us home.
Yeah, I think everyone, you know, you hit the overarching thing beautifully, but I will just say social media doesn't have to be scary. It can be fun, theatrical, and also what's so fun about all these platforms, it may be overwhelming, but they're all doing the same thing. They're all doing vertical short content, and you can recycle, batch, reduce what you need, and, you know, use it across different platforms. You don't think you have to curate to every single thing. If you're really good at Instagram, hone in on that and, you know, repurpose.
Yeah, work smarter, not harder, right?
That's right.
Well, thank you so much, Nikki, Abby, Daniel, and Kay. This was such an awesome conversation. And in a lot of these, we have stayed pretty high level, and people have been asking us to go deeper and really talk about tools and tactics and strategy. And I think you guys did an awesome job of that. So thank you so much for really diving in and sharing your expertise. Our next session and final session of the season will be on November 4th at 5 p.m. Pacific. We'll be talking about mental health, addiction recovery, access to services and resources for artists, joined by representatives from MusiCares and Smash. So we look forward to seeing everyone then. And in the meantime, take care, and thank you again to our panelists for participating today.
Thanks, you.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.